Yeah, dude, he's a lucky man. He just basically got fat, probably had a lot of fun doing it, and now he's going to have a lot of fun getting rich, getting healthy and skinny, and meeting his weigh-ins. I think a lot of my resentment towards Eddie is the fact that I'm just jealous of the dude.
You're listening to Let's Talk Fantasy Football, where men of fantasy genius have realized, hey guys, we don't need real football skills to dominate on the fantasy field. Yeah. So slap on your pads and grab your helmet. Shit's about to get real.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Let's Talk Fantasy Football. I am your host, Nick Schreck, and joining me tonight is the only fantasy football analyst you guys need to know about going into the 2017 season. He's arguably the top draft pick, and I think if you look on Fantasy Football Calculator right now, he is leading the way in ADP for fantasy football analysts being drafted. He is the one, he is the only Vinny Gonzalez. Vinny, how you doing?
What's up, Schreck? That was a very beautiful intro. I miss these. I think my self-esteem really needed that.
I'm happy to help any way I can. Some bad fantasy advice, an intro, self-esteem stuff. That's what we're here for, man. Teamwork, right?
Yeah, you know it.
Teamwork. So, guys, that's it for tonight. Vinny and I are going to kick things off here with episode 2 for the 2017 season. And looking forward, I've looked at the schedule kind of already, Vinny, looking at how the games fall and how we're going to try and do some of our projections throughout the offseason here. We're looking at about possibly 70 episodes of Let's Talk Fantasy Football this year, guys. So holy shit is right. If we can stay on track, you guys can be having a lot of Let's Talk Fantasy Football. And we may have a new face on the podcast more regularly. We will kind of throw him out there to you guys at the end of the podcast, just as an intro. You've heard him before, and he's probably going to be the smartest guy among us. Him and Walsh will battle it out, no doubt about that. But first, we want to give a quick shout out to some of our good friends over at Auction Draft. They're working on a custom app, guys, that's focused on auction fantasy leagues and players. And I'll tell you what, we don't know dick about fantasy football auction leagues over here. I haven't even tried dabbling in it because I would just overpay and then realize I only have $1 left than everybody else. So we leave that to the guys that specialize in it. So we're going to have them on later in the season and hopefully be able to bring some good news to you guys about them soon enough. We also want to give a shout out to ViewPicks. Guys, they're working on an app that's going to be out this season as well. You're going to be able to play fantasy football live while watching the game on TV. And they're going to be able to tell you a little bit more about how that's actually going to work. And last but certainly not least, guys, your favorites, our favorites, No Halftime, the one-on-one fantasy sports app you guys need to be playing on. So, again, we're going to be on there all season long. And without further ado, I think we should just jump right into the show and talk about, or bitch about, quite frankly, Vinny, some NFL news, some ADPs, and the way the first round and how some of those guys are kind of shaking out. So you ready to rock and roll?
Yeah, dude, let's go for it. Got plenty to complain about as usual.
Yeah, hey, man, complaining. It's the name of the game. It's who we are. Let's start with kind of a sad story. Brings a little bit of a tear to our eye here at Let's Talk Fantasy Football. Dennis Pitta, injured once again. Is the dream dead?
Yeah, man, it's definitely dead. I feel really bad for the guy. Dennis Pitta he's a great dude. But yeah, definitely terrible going down with his 6th hip thing. And I think he's going to retire. So that kind of sucks. I love Dennis Pitta. And I'd be lying if I wasn't eventually going to talk about grabbing him late and how sweet that would have been in drafts. But I can't do that now. So probably for the best. But Dennis Pitta, we wish you well. We
do. We wish you well, Dennis Pitta. And to be honest, our fantasy teams thank you in advance because we would have owned too many shares of you and it would have gone too poorly. So, we're sad to hear you've been injured again. We're glad that this is taken care of for us now here in June. Let's talk about a guy. Well, there's two, one Chief and one former Chief on the list, but we'll start with, they're both former Chiefs, actually. Wow, that hurt to say.
You're just realizing it now?
Yeah, I'm accepting it now. Jeremy Maclin, cut by the Kansas City Chiefs, and quite frankly, I think it's fucking madness. I've been willing to believe in Andy Reid and the blind faith, after the draft, and they took a QB and all the other nonsense. But why would you cut Jeremy Maclin? The Chiefs are in a position where they need to win now. At least my belief is. You're going to lose Tamba Hali. You have some pieces now. You already let Dontari Poe walk, so you cut him. You save $10 million. What the hell is Kansas City going to do with that $10 million right now? They're not going to find someone else that they're going to spend that money on. I think it's absolute craziness. I think Andy Reid is off his rocker. And I'll probably be on a podcast later this year saying I was wrong and apologizing to Andy Reid because that's typically how it goes. But right now,
No.
I just don't see it. I don't see it at all.
No, it's a bad move. And Macklin's still like relatively young. He's still definitely really good. He's, I think, without question, still, he was the Chiefs' number one wide receiver. I don't think Tyreek Hill is like a one at all. He had a great year, but if you're banking on that and that's the reason like Macklin got cut, that fucking sucks.
Yes. It's because you can't, again, I love Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, even Chris, you'll see how Conley comes up and kind of fills that role for fantasy purposes. But, Macklin was an important but unnoticed piece of that offense. Alex Smith isn't slinging it deep. That's fine, but he played a role there for them. And I think they needed him again this year. So I don't know. I don't get it. I think it's penny wise, dollar foolish, however the saying goes. They're looking at the cap hit, which is great. We're going to eat money. I get it. I just don't see how that is going to help us this year. And ultimately, I don't know. I'm just not happy with the Chiefs this year, really. The draft worries me just because we got nothing immediate to help us there in the first round, traded away a bunch of picks, and now we just cut Jeremy Macklin. So I'm on suicide watch as far as the Chiefs are concerned.
That's really not a good thing.
No.
Also, fun fact, Macklin is the only wide receiver that Alex Smith has thrown 1,000 yards to in a season.
Great. Perfect. Yep. No, that's actually a very good fun fact. So this year, hopefully we can get another receiver over 1,000 yards. That'd be cool with Alex Smith because right now we've got 0 on the roster. Let's move on before I push myself further into depression here over the Chiefs. Let's talk about our favorite here, Cheeseburger Eddie Lacy He met his way in, Vinny. I mean, he got his bonus because he was able to, I guess, eat healthy and work out. And he got paid I think it was $55,000. Yep, $55,000 for doing what everyone in America is trying to do right now for not a $55,000 incentive.
Yeah, dude, he's a lucky man. He just basically got fat, probably had a lot of fun doing it, and now he's going to have a lot of fun getting rich, getting healthy and skinny, and meeting his weigh-ins. I think a lot of my resentment towards Eddie is probably the bad season he had for me when I took him in the first round the one year, and the fact that I'm just jealous of the dude.
Yeah, hell yeah. Sign me up. Where can I sign to make $55,000 for losing weight and working out? I hate working out, but I will do it for $55,000. And Eddie Lacy's apparently now doing the P90X 30-day challenge. So, yeah. I mean, you listen to Tony on those tapes, man, he motivates the shit out of you. So I get it. I see why Eddie Lacy is finding success. I am clearly jealous of you, Eddie. So if you're listening out there, have a cheeseburger or two just in our honor because we know you're going to not eat anymore after that. Last but not least here, I put him on here just because it hurts. Jamal Charles goes to the Denver Broncos. What a slap in the face. What a dick move. I wish Jamal Charles the best, but not in Denver. I just can't. And that's just being a bitter Chiefs fan. So that's all I have to say on that.
Yeah, I don't really know what to make of that backfield.
Well, for fantasy, if he makes, we heard earlier reports, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, they're like, we don't know if he's going to make the roster. Again, it's all nonsense right now. It's June 5th. It's way too early to call.
He'll definitely make the roster.
I agree. I think he will too. I think it's the nonsense that comes out where coaches love players, hate players, which means shit to the fantasy community. I don't know. It's going to be very interesting when it comes to fantasy drafts, assuming he's on the roster, who's going where, how they're going to handle all the duties, because it's probably a backfield I'll try and avoid if it stays in its current state.
Yeah, not to mention their offensive line is not the best.
Yeah, the Broncos are not. They're a shell of what they were at one point.
Agreed.
Which makes me happy as a Chiefs fan. But those Oakland Raiders look mighty fine, so that's scary in its own right. And Walsh, I'm sure, will be smiling when he listens to this at some point.
In his new Marshawn Lynch jersey.
Yeah, I'll tell you. Oh man, that sucks. Good for you though, Walsh. Marshawn Lynch, Raiders. Nothing but good things ahead for you guys. Hopefully not too good though. Vinny, is there anything else you want to hit as far as bitching about NFL news and players here? Or do you want to just get into ADPs?
I forgot to mention Macklin. I think the landing spot for him is going to be the Bills because he reached out to Macklin. I saw on Twitter and stuff like that, and I think Tyrod jumped in the pool to try to get him over there. So hopefully me saying earlier on the other podcast that Tyrod should be the 8th quarterback taken at least. That'll pump that up a little bit.
I mean, hey, if Ty God can't convince him to join the Bills, nothing can. So we'll see if his powers to be can help Macklin land there in Buffalo. But with that, Vinny, let's talk ADPs, guys. Everything we're referring to here on the podcast is coming courtesy of fantasyfootballcalculator.com. We're referring to 12-team leagues and PPR rankings. So if you're playing in standard, you're playing in anything else, you can break those down just a little bit differently that way. But yeah, without further ado, Vinny, let's give me some names here. Top of the draft looks kind of as we'd expect. No.
Yeah. So the important thing right now, at the beginning of June, when you're just diving in, you start doing mocks early and often, because you just gotta suffer through it, because it's just like I was telling you before, it's just like being thrown into a lion's den. You don't know what the hell is going on from last year, and you just come in and you don't really know what to expect. Like, I've seen some crazy things. Leonard Fournette is a guy that's going super early. I've seen like all kinds of stuff, like Christian McCaffrey. I think a lot of the rookie guys I've seen have probably been the only things that really bothered me doing like full mocks. But as far as the early rounds, that's what we kind of want to focus on, at least for this podcast, and probably the early part of June, because once the season starts to get going, they start doing practices. You see some preseason games. Guys will move up and down constantly. Right now, they're kind of just going to sit until we start to see how the depth charts get shaken out and stuff like that. So the main stuff to do is kind of see how the first round is shaking out, and possibly guys in the second round are early risers and fallers, but nothing too crazy until we get deeper into July and, of course, August during draft season.
Yeah, absolutely. Get mocking. Don't, like you said, don't sweat the later rounds, because you're going to be in mock drafts where people are going to bounce out early. It's okay. Just get the reps in. Just get a feel. Again, it's early. Don't fall too in love with all the rookies and all these other guys yet. We haven't seen anything from them. It's pure nonsense of this is what they did in college. They're on this team. They run the ball this percentage. That's great. It's helpful. But you need a little bit more, I think, substance around it all. And let's start with the top 3 guys, essentially, Vinny, that are, they did it last year. They've done it in the past. David Johnson right now sitting at number 1 overall. Le'Veon Bell at number 2. Ezekiel Elliott in number 3. Is that how you would rank those top 3 picks right now?
I've been going back and forth between Johnson and Bell at 1, but yeah, pretty much 1, 2, 3. Those guys are definitely off the board. They're completely set in their offenses. You definitely want to get a running back if you're in the top 3 spot, because there's not much to trust as usual once you get past them, because it's just a kind of a crapshoot after that. Yep,
I agree. It's a fucking free for all. After the 3 guys, and it becomes who do you believe in and who don't you believe in, essentially. But I'm with you. Elliott is firmly right now my number 3 guy, behind Le'Veon Bell and David Johnson. It's a toss-up. I don't know. I started working on an article actually yesterday that I listed David Johnson as my number 1 guy, but I keep going back and forth. So we'll see what it comes out in the article as is who I like at number 1 overall if I had to pick one today.
Yeah. I mean, you're getting nothing bad. Like I hate to like jinx it, but I think they're all sure things. And that's been kind of a hard thing like the last couple of years to get you want to be in the front of the draft again, I think. I said that last year too.
Yeah, you probably did. I mean, it's usually not a bad place to be. So typically they're mostly sure things at the top, never hit a home run.
Honestly, I'm cool with the first 7 guys, and I think that's the most locked thing. I think that will probably stay as long as everyone remains healthy. You got the 3 guys we were just talking about, the three big running backs, and then Antonio Brown, Julio Jones, Beckham, and Evans. I think that's pretty much a lock there at like the 7 guys that are probably going to go off in most leagues in that order.
Okay.
So that's kind of what I'm gauging from that. And then after that, it's like, who the fuck knows? That's where like McCoy and Green pop in. You see Freeman, Jordy Nelson, all in these crazy different orders. So that's pretty much when the draft just kind of shakes loose.
Yeah, because preference starts overriding everything at that point, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, in my opinion, there's no argument to be made against those top 7 guys. Again, if you want to flip one of the other, wide receivers, that's, whatever your pleasure, but I agree it's a lock at the top 7. And then Shady at 8 is I don't know. I mean, we'll see if him and Macklin come together.
That's where you're like, all right, I can go with like McCoy, who's definitely a good running back, getting a little older, but do I want like AJ Green? Do I want to take a chance on Devontae Freeman, possibly go with Jordy, who's also getting up there in age? So that's when you have to really start making some decisions. DeMarco Murray's also floating around there, and he's still, I think, definitely really good. Shrek, you shaking your head at DeMarco Murray?
No, I'm just shaking my head at the shit show, I'll call it.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's already a cliff, and we just passed the spot.
Yeah, it's not at DeMarco personally. It's just looking at all his names. I'm sitting here thinking as you're reading them off, like, man, what would I do at number 8? And I'm kind of
you gotta jump into mocks now, man. Get used to it. Shake yourself off, like shake the rust, and just be like, all right, if this did happen, am I cool with McCoy as my number 1 pick? It's tough. It's really tough.
It is. It's going to take a lot of soul searching over the next 2.5 months to get to draft day for that 8 to 10 spot.
Because usually the back of the draft, we've had a couple guys in our league drop back there because you get a nice wraparound, like you get a later value in the first round. It used to be, or at least last year, it was it was way nicer than the front almost.
Yes. Yeah. People prefer that 10-11 swing, that 9-12, even the 8-13, just like you said, that added value. But here it's a fucking, they're too. I mean,
it's still definitely nice for you. It's just like less. It gets less and less of a sure thing for you as the first round goes on.
It's more essentially boom or bust. Especially, and we've talked about this, and we'll harp on it as we get into the season with the podcast of, again, my thing, I always say I want to draft safe, and unfortunately the past few years I've moved away from drafting based on my data and charts, and I'm more like, oh, well, he's usually really good, I'm going to go with him. But you need to nail those early picks because you can play around later on and hope, but that first, second round pick, if you blow both those top 2 picks, you better hope the waiver wire is good to you, and again, being a league bitch, I paid the price, and I didn't play the waiver wire well. I didn't trust my gut, and clearly I didn't mock enough. I didn't do the things textbook wise that we should be doing. So hopefully I'm starting myself on the righteous path here on June 5th by talking about ADPs early. And at the very least, I can look back, in another year from now if it happens again, and try and figure out where I went wrong. At least I'm trying to better myself.
You can have a renaissance yet, my man.
We'll see. Hopefully all good things, but definitely no promises for sure. But you've done some mocks, Vinny. So, I know you talked about Fournette and some other things, but are there any other names that people, is there anything shocking you that you're seeing, minus this, like this block of just like question marks? Is there anything where like last year, I felt like we looked at drafts in hindsight, again, 2020, we were all like, Ezekiel Elliott is going way too high. This is fucking madness. And now we look like morons, which we are. But the reality is, do you see anything like that again this year, or a trend where you're like, screw this guy, or just you're worried early?
I mean, there's way more question mark dudes early, like that I just don't know what to do with. Like Todd Gurley's one. DeAndre Hopkins won, but the stuff that was just outright shocking to me is how early Leonard Fournette is going, even in just standard like redraft leagues. And I don't mean standard like it could be PPR, just like regular redraft leagues. He's going like at the turn of the second round. He's going at the end of the second round. It's just like, what the fuck are you doing?
That's fucking mad. I mean, and look,
it's crazy. He's definitely good, but like. There are still, like, TJ Yeldon's still alive. He's going to get carries. Chris Ivory, for whatever reason, will still get carries. Leonard Fournette, I guess, will get the bulk if you're lucky. And what do you want him to do with those, man?
I mean, I'll be honest. If Dom was here right now, he'd have his Jags jersey on, his shades on. And I don't want to speak for Dom, but, he's been a big TJ Tasty supporter. He's been, in the marinating group there. Let him marinate. And I don't think he'd be on board with Leonard Fournette here by saying, take him.
I don't know if Don would be cool with that early.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I think it's too rich.
It's June 5th, and he's going that early,
which means he's only going to climb.
I suppose, and I think, like, I know you mentioned just Zeke before and how we were wrong on that. I think now that Zeke did so well and people, showed some balls, took him in the first round, obviously everything worked out magnificently. But I hate to break it to everyone, the fucking Jags O-line is not the Cowboys O-line. And, Zeke is better than Fournette, but, Fournette is still definitely good, like I said. But you can't just take a rookie there. I don't think you can do that.
No, I agree. Recency bias.
With the Jags situation too. You can't do it.
Yeah, like you said, it's not the Cowboys. He's not in the ideal situation with the O-line and all the other pieces. Again, it's early, but I was looking at his ADP on May 8th. He was going with the 7th pick in the 6th round. He's now up to essentially.
Cool. I'm cool with that. I'm sure a lot of people were.
Yeah, okay.
Probably excited.
Yeah, and now you're like, holy shit! The end of the 2nd round, beginning of 3rd. It's crazy. That's fair, but yeah, a lot of people are going to overpay.
Yeah, not to mention you're banking on Blake Bortles playing well enough that he won't turn the ball over. They'll have lots of scoring opportunities. It's just there's way too much not good stuff that could happen with that pick.
Speaking of not good stuff, man, and I'm not trying to take us back off ADPs, but this when you talked about turning the ball over and not performing well and bad stuff, it made me think of another QB that we failed to mention early on because I think he's still looking for work. So he did reach out to us about some openings here at LTFF, and I just told him I didn't think he was the right culture fit. Is still out there struggling. So I did want to give him a nod because we're talking about Blake Bortles being bad. So you're welcome, Jay.
Yeah, I don't remember Jay Cutler ever being bad, but thanks for the shout out, Trek. I'm sure he appreciates that.
Of course, man. I know he's a big fan, so I just got to be honest with him. He does appreciate that about us.
Oh man, I'm gonna miss him, but I get to see him every Sunday anyway. Broadcasting.
What a guy! What a guy! What a guay. All right. Well, enough with Jay Cutler because I could just sit here and dream about him all day. I'm still kind of perplexed here, Vinny, at this smashed up middle after pick 8 or pick 7, really. Devontae. Let's talk through it. Let's talk through whatever we'll call it 8 through 15, whatever, and just LaShawn McCoy. We talked about him. He's getting older. Tell me about AJ Green. What's going on there in Cincinnati? Andy Dalton. You are our Bengals guy. So do you believe in AJ Green at 9?
Oh, of course I do. I think it's fantastic to get AJ Green that late because he was going, 5th, 6th last year. I think a lot of people were banking on him having a great year. And I think you still would get at worst, AJ Green is still a top 5 dude in the league. So he can possibly, be a top 5 wide receiver in fantasy for you. It makes total sense to me. And with the new additions of John Ross, hopefully Tyler Eifert can stay healthy, stuff like that. If Joe Mixon never sees the field and they stop giving the ball to Hill and stuff like that, everything will change.
All right. I agree. I think big things to come. And like you said, if you can get him as the 5th wide receiver there, totally on board. Melvin Gordon, my advice to you guys is follow Don closely. When Don owns Melvin Gordon, bad things happen. When Don does not, Melvin Gordon plays well. So if Don drafts him this year, you don't want to own any Melvin Gordon stock. That's as good as insight as I can give you.
I think he might, and I hate Melvin Gordon. How many he had?
Why?
He had 9 touchdowns, possibly more. I can't remember, but it was just he scored way, way too much when the Chargers were bad. So I know it's probably easy to say that if he can do it when he's bad, imagine what he can do when they're good. But if they're good, other people are going to score those touchdowns.
Yeah, well, that is the kicker on the other side but that's the thing about the Chargers. I don't remember who I was talking about this the other day, but it was someone offline and. We talked about, they were asking about the Chiefs and the AFC West. The thing about the Chargers is you never know what you're going to get with the Chargers. If Keenan Allen's healthy, they could be a 12-win team, but they can also be a 2-win team and still be healthy and have guys perform. I just never know what you're going to get with the Chargers, which is why I think it's tough.
There's a lot of pieces on the Chargers that I think could be great, like Keenan Allen, Phillip Rivers.
Yep.
They could both be amazing, but it's just there's a lot of question marks still. So when we get to, I'm sure we'll do, I don't know, team by team, but when we discuss the Chargers, we'll get into all that.
Yes. Yep. And, hey, Keenan, We always love Keenan Allen. Hopefully he can keep himself healthy. I mean, just for reference for you guys now, he's a 5th pick in the 3rd round, going right before Allen Robinson, right after Doug Baldwin and Brandon Cooks. So, which, not for nothing, I do want to ask you about Brandon Cooks here. At the 12th pick in the 2nd round is fucking bonkers to me.
Yeah, I can't do that. Bonkers. I can't.
That's absurd.
I just what are people think? Like, it's hard when, like, all offseason, people are going to be guessing what his role is going to be in the Patriots offense. I couldn't even tell you what I think that'll be because the Patriots are so ridiculous with how they do that.
Yeah. I can almost guarantee I will own 0 shares of Brandon Cooks, regardless of how he moves up and down boards this year, unless he ends up at rock bottom prices. Because New England can sustain Rob Gronkowski, and then, Edelman's usually, he's good, especially in PPR, but the rest of it, how it's going to shake out is it's impossible to predict. Tom Brady's good. He's going to give you a bunch of fantasy points, but the rest of it? So you guys are crazy taking Brandon Cooks at 12 overall, and then the next guy's taking Leonard Fournette. So people are drinking the Kool-Aid early. I mean, look, the Patriots they're going to be great again. It sucks, but it's just the way it is. They're a good team. They're a very good team, and that's the way it is. But
also, Brandon Cooks is like one preseason long touchdown away from being like right up against like probably the turn of the 2nd round if he does well in the preseason.
Yeah,
I just don't. Yeah, he'll explode if he has. Games.
He's like you said, he's already at 212. I mean, there's no reason he's not going to be in that conversation with Michael Thomas, T.Y. Hilton, Des Bryant, Amari Cooper. I mean, he's almost there already. So yeah, if he starts hot, fucking forget about it. I mean, I like Amari Cooper there at.
Me too.
That's a good price. I mean, he's wide receiver 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. He's wide receiver 10 there. Cool, can get on board with that for sure. Ty is always good. Dez.
I feel like Ty is always awesome, but nobody wants to take him. Like, it's not a sexy pick for some reason.
Yep, I agree. He's like old reliable, but you're just like,
yeah, great. I got T.Y. Hilton.
Cool. I mean, he's gonna give me a bunch of points, but I just
I wanted something shinier.
Exactly. Because you're like, Ty is gonna be quiet for like the first 3 quarters of the game, and then he's gonna go for a 97-yard touchdown, and then he'll come back and score another 50-yard touchdown and end up with 30 points after he did nothing for 3.5 quarters.
Let me ask you something, Shrek.
Yeah.
If you had to guess, this goes back to when we were talking about Leonard Fournette and like the rookie running backs going early. If you could hazard a guess, where do you think Christian McCaffrey is getting drafted
right now?
Mm-hmm.
Is he even being drafted?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that scares me. Your response scares me. I'm gonna say I would have said probably like round 10, round 12.
Holy shit, dude! 4th round, 4th pick.
Holy, I guess I'm super out of touch. Wow.
Yeah. That answer was, I think, mathematically worse than my Tyrod Taylor answer.
I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah, like when you look at the Panthers and what they've been trying to do, like I guess they've always wanted a pass catching back, but it's not the way I see Cam playing. Once he gets outside the pocket, it's Cam or, looking downfield. I don't really know. He's not really a dump off kind of guy.
No, he's not. I mean, I don't remember who I was listening to, but they talked about this briefly, and they kind of talked about, how many catches has Jonathan Stewart had, and if you look back, you could argue that there'll be, 50 receptions, 60 receptions to go around in the passing game over the course of the season. Maybe, we'll see. Again, they weren't my numbers, but they signed Stewart to a bunch of money. They're going to use him. I agree. I mean, Cam is not the dump off. Those aren't the way they have designed their plays unless they're just overhauling everything. But I don't see Cam changing who he is. I mean, you're right, man. This is scary. Carlos Hyde, 2 picks before him. Fuck that. Christian McCaffrey, fuck that. I mean, CJ Anderson's down below him at 411. Like, this is a scary looking ADP board right now, and it's fucking June 5th.
It's just like there's so much that I'm still like filtering through. Like, just like it's just way. I didn't expect people to go where they're going.
No, well, that's why. I mean, like, again, my first comment about McCaffrey not being being undrafted was absurd. But I didn't think the 10th round was crazy. I thought, again, is it low? Sure, but I didn't think it would be crazy for a June 5th ADP.
Correct, yeah.
But for a freaking 4th round ADP is just I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. But again, Fournette doesn't make sense, and neither did Ezekiel Elliott. But again, I don't put either of them in the same class as what went on there with Ezekiel Elliott at all.
Recency bias.
100%, man. Recency bias, no doubt about it. Here's a guy, again, I'm not necessarily saying I don't have an issue with ADP. A guy I'm interested in hearing more about this offseason, particularly from Walsh, is Lamar Miller. Because the Lamar Miller love last year was so off the charts. Obviously Brock Osweiler is not there. They get a new QB. They're making some things happen. Miller's price is down almost. He's over a round cheaper, if not 2 rounds cheaper than what he was going at last year. So I'd be interested. No, is it 2 rounds or is it a round? A round. He's 11th pick in the second round. So I'm interested to see Walsh's take on that. He may have no interest. I don't know. But being such a big supporter, I'm interested to see.
Well, I mean, at worst last year, he was still, a high RB2. He didn't have the best season, but he missed 3 games. He did all right. Like, he didn't do as good as Walsh wanted him to. I don't think he did as good as like everybody wanted him to at all. He definitely, like, I remember Walsh saying he would take him in the first round.
Yep.
Laying his bold claims, but it wasn't outlandish to think that at the time. And if you can get him here now, if it maintains, it could even drop when you think about it, depending on who they announce as the quarterback.
Yes. You
could be looking at a value in Lamar Miller, who's,
100%.
At worst, like I said, a solid number 2.
Which would be great.
Yeah.
Sign me up. I'm just trying to see what did he do last year? Game log. Yeah, like you said, I missed a few games, and I'm pretty sure he had some difficulty finding the end zone, if memory serves me correctly.
I think the Texans overall did.
Well, yes.
I think that's definitely, telling from his his numbers.
That's fair enough. I mean, yeah, he had 2 against Indy. I mean, okay, so he had 3 against Indy in 2 games, and then he had a total of 3 touchdowns in all of his other games. So
that's pretty shitty.
That's very shitty. So again, that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes.
Yeah. As we say, touchdowns are very fluky. So
yep. You can't necessarily predict them at all. Let's see, what other names are jumping out at me now? I know we originally said we were just talking about that top 15 block, but I feel like there's so many interesting names now as I'm looking through the list.
I could do some more Bengals stuff for you, Shrek, and still stick with the rookie running back deal.
Let's do it.
Mr. Joe Mixon.
All right.
He's going right now, 5th pick. 11th pick in the 5th round.
Okay.
I think is probably more justified than any of the other rookie running backs that we've talked about, but still a ton of question marks. Is he going to start? Is the offensive line going to be good? How much playing time is he going to get if he is splitting carries with anybody? It's still pretty, it's still, 5th round. There's still some other guys that are a lot safer than taking Joe Mixon, although he is, a fantastic player. It's just, I think people are looking more at the opportunity that might not even happen. So I think we're going to have, that's like one that he's not going in a bad spot now, but watch out for the preseason, how that rolls out, because he will jump right up with them.
I agree. If the hype train gets out of control, he's going to shoot right up. But, like you said, hopefully, he maybe even falls a little bit and becomes a bit of a value because, again, you're going to have more of an inside track, following the Bengals more closely than some others in that, all right, so maybe he's not going to get that starting gig right away, but you do believe that 3, 4, 5 games in, so he's worth the later round pick, stash him off onto the bench, and then that way it's not a waiver wire war later or someone else overpays. Again, we'll see how it plays out, but maybe his draft value can be suppressed a little bit, depending on if he's named the starter all those other pieces that play into it. But I agree. I think he's in the most appropriate spot of the three rookies we've kind of talked about so far.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, if it stays like that, that could get interesting in drafts.
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt about it. Here, I'm trying to think who else I'm looking at.
He's going smack dab in the middle of these two fellows who share a backfield, Adrian Peterson and Mark Ingram.
Damn.
Another toughie.
The Saints hate Ingram, man. They always have. They always will.
Yeah, I feel so bad for that dude.
It's terrible. It's terrible. Yeah. He's like, this is my shot. This is my year. And they're like, and the Saints have signed Adrian Peterson. And he's like, fuck, man. This was my shot. This was, God. And he probably cried himself to sleep for a few nights, so I get it.
Yeah, it's also still like super early, but I don't think I'm going to touch either of those dudes.
No, it's the same mess that the Saints backfield has always been. Take a gamble. Who do you want to pick and invest in? And you just pray you're right. Again, not a gamble I want to be in, but
certainly not.
Who the hell knows? I'll end up in a gamble or two that I'm not happy with, but that's the way that's just going to happen.
Hey, we all do, man.
Yeah, it's the name of the game, right?
Yeah. Oh, I got a dude I love who's going later than you should. Michael Crabtree, going in the late fourth, 9th pick in the 4th.
Okay.
There are some arguments to be made that he's the actual number one wide receiver for the Raiders.
Yes.
And Cooper is going, way up there in the 2nd round, and you can possibly get a better value for that in the late 4th. So I'm digging Crabtree. I think it's been great what he's done since he left the 49ers. Yeah,
man, it's incredible. It's incredible what he's done since he's gotten out of San Francisco. Looks great. Him and Amari Cooper play well together. I mean, like you said, that's almost two full round difference. I mean, that's great for production. That really, I mean, did he outscore Cooper last year on Final Fantasy points?
Yeah, I would think so. I would have to check, but I put my money on yes.
Yeah. So I mean, right there, with just that, I mean, it's that in itself is enough to be like, all right, fuck yeah, for 2 rounds later.
Well, what's weird is they use Crabtree in the red zone and they don't use Cooper in the red zone.
Yeah,
which I think has a lot to do with it, but
Oh, well, yeah, the looks and touchdowns there definitely make a difference. I'm just looking at his stats. Yeah. I mean, he was pretty, a few down weeks as everyone does, but otherwise he's, 8, 7, 6, 7. I mean, lots of receptions and the touchdowns and yards to go. So can't beat it. Definitely can't fucking beat it. Who else we got here? Carlos Hyde, I think, is madness at the 3rd pick in the 4th round. Him and Christian.
There was like so much trade talk and possibly not even being on the 49ers. Like, Carlos Hyde. So I don't know. There's a lot more. Like I'm going to ignore his spot for now until he either is officially with the 49ers doing his thing, or if he's going somewhere else, or if they're cutting him or what.
That's fair. It's early. I'll give you that. Okay, I'll reserve judgment. I'll walk back a little bit on my Carlos Hyde hate, just because it's early.
I mean, you could hate him. That's probably the safest thing to do.
Well, yeah, it's the safest. But I mean, so far anyone that's listened to the podcast, it's like, all right, well, Shrek doesn't like anybody. He hates everybody. So I don't know who really is on his draft board right now. Your boy Dougie Fresh, going at the 5th round here, early 5th.
I like that.
Yeah, I think it's a nice price for Doug Martin. Actually,
he's missing the first 3 games. Or 4.
I think it's 3. But
I think it's 3.
Hold me to it.
That could be a nice little payoff for you if you drafted well the first couple of rounds.
Yeah, if you can afford to sit on him. I mean, again, you like the offense. You like Mike Evans, him in the backfield. As long as he comes in healthy and fucking. I don't know. He is suspended 4 games.
Yeah. Okay. So it is 4.
Yep. Again, I'd probably like to see him fall a little bit more with the 4-game suspension. I know it's only 1 extra game, but it's a quarter of your or a third of your fantasy season at the investment price. But I guess it depends how your roster shakes out.
Yeah.
What else we got? Fat Eddie.
Oh, I wanted to ask you about what do you think about the Chiefs' backfield? Because Spencer Ware, I think, is definitely the first running back of the Chiefs off the board. I just don't know where he is going. Ninth pick, third.
Okay, so there's where. Where's West?
I don't even know if he is.
Yeah, I don't even know if he is there.
I mean, I would think so, but just like the way Spencer Ware kind of wore down in this season, I think it's a little high for him. But I was just gonna say when you're down there, you got to start gambling on running backs anyway. But I just didn't know like what you thought about that, if he's even going to hold the job, because I don't think West is better than Ware, but
no, I don't either.
Kind of leaned on him.
Yeah, no, they did. I mean, West right now is the 10th pick in the 14th round, so essentially undrafted. Where we said it's the 9th pick in the 3rd round. Yikes. I mean, I don't know. I guess I think he's going to be the guy. Early on, I think they're going to lean on him and feed him the ball. Like you said, he showed signs, of breaking down, and he wasn't the same guy as he was early on. Honestly, my play would probably be, draft him, ride him, and then kind of look and see his progress. I mean, I may try and bail out of him as I get a little bit later in my fantasy season, just based on historically. If he looks bad down the stretch, you probably don't want to depend on him as much. He's going right, he's above Carlos Hyde and McCaffrey. He's right behind Marshawn. I'll take him over Fournette. He's probably in the ballpark where he should be. Because I don't think you're not going to drop him down to, C.D. Anderson, Eddie Lacy, Tevin Coleman territory. I don't think. But I'm not pushing him up to Lamar Miller, Leonard Fournette territory. So I think he's about right there at the close to the turn of the end of the 3rd, beginning of the 4th.
Cool.
I think he's a guy in Kansas City, at least for now, and we'll see what Big Red decides to do. But I'm okay with it. Again, the Chiefs, clearly believe they don't need Macklin on the outside. They're going to obviously feed Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, so they're going to be doing plenty in the running game as it is. Alex Smith isn't a deep ball guy. I like him there.
Cool. And then, who is the rookie that they drafted?
I honestly don't know his name off the top of my head.
I'm trying to think, because I don't know if he'll have he's probably going to be a late round flyer for people, but I don't know if he's even going to get decent playing time like this season behind those two.
Yeah, enough to make it worth. Kareem Hunt.
That's it.
Yep. He looks he's quick. So you obviously like that, and that's why people are going to take flyers on him. I don't know. I think it's too early for me now to say like he's worth the flyer. If someone wanted to take him, great. But I want to see a little bit more out of him in OTAs, practice, get him on the field, and see how they're piecing him kind of into that offense. Because you're going to have a lot of speed out there with Tyreek Hill. But yeah, if they can get him involved, I mean, he may only need a few touches to make the big shit happen. It's just a matter of if they do it or not. It's too early for me to get on board, but it's a good name to watch. Definitely a good name to watch.
I'll take that answer, Shrek. That's pretty much what I expected.
Yeah, like I said, it's
another one of the enigma backfields.
And unfortunately, there's a lot of them nowadays.
It's rough, man. Because like you were saying, it's not a bad spot for him. Because after that, it's pretty much question mark guys who are like a loose number one on their team, and then the pass catching backs.
Yep, and you can't push him up. So he's kind of where he quote unquote should be, which is a bit of a cop out answer, but it's just the reality of the way ADPs look right now. It sucks to say, but it is what it is. I just had someone I wanted to ask you about, but now I can't. I scrolled past their name. No, I don't know where it went. It's gonna kill me. This is gonna eat at me. I'm trying to think. I think that's gonna be good for me. I mean, you got anybody else you want to hit?
You know what? Trying to think. Well, we should go out on someone.
Yeah, well, we will. We'll have to wrap it up.
That would have been a dud of an ending. No, I'm good.
No, I'm good. All right. We're just gonna call it quits. And
so an earlier dude, I could talk about like a million people. Let's just take one guy who did really well, but I'm not exactly sure what to think. Jay Ajayi.
All right, he's going third pick in the second round, 16 overall. Miami is an enigma in itself. He is running back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think I'm cool with it. Just because as I look at where he, I like a Todd Gurley below him. I won't get on the Todd Gurley train because he doesn't,
it's another. That was the other option I was going to say, what to do with him, but we could talk about that at length another time.
That could be for podcast number 3. Gurley's its own story. So I would take him over Gurley. Again, we talked about Lamar Miller, nice value down there, definitely over Fournette. Explosive in Miami, obviously, and if you owned him and you played him, you probably won all those weeks that he went off.
Yeah, I mean, I think the mass of his production happened those 2 weeks.
It did.
When he put up, over 200 yards.
Pull his Ajayi. Hold on, give me a stats really quick, so I don't look like an asshole. They're not coming up yet.
That's cool.
Yeah, he had the 1 week where absolutely nobody played him because he was on everybody's benches when he went for fucking 40 fantasy points. And here we go. Stats courtesy of playerprofiler.com. I'm obviously stalling because my internet's slowed. And here. He had... Yeah, I'm trying to look. So 209 yards in week 16, and then week 6 was 207 yards, 2 touchdowns. Week 7, 216 yards and a touchdown. 130 yards against the Jets in week 9 and a touchdown. You're right. It was a pretty big. But in the other ones, he was still good. He had 84 yards against the Rams with 3 receptions, 11.4 fantasy points. Nothing to write home about, but solid day. I'll take it. He went for 12.6 points the following week, and he kind of died off. He went for 7.3 and 5.1. So, like you said, there are some boom and bust. I think I'm okay with his ADP right there, right now, based on, again, the enigma around him. I probably wouldn't push him up above Jordan Howard, DeMarco Murray, any of those guys. Would you?
No, if anything, I might drop him down, possibly below Gurley and Miller, depending on what happens. For now,
okay.
But I just really didn't know what to do because it seemed, like I said, boom or bust, and at the very least he'll be solid.
Yeah,
it's just it's still those early stages where you can fuck up.
Yep, yeah, it's the early price you pay for something that could be a little more inconsistent. I agree about Miller with you. Gurley, I wouldn't make a leap, but that's
possibly.
Splitting hairs. Yeah, possibly.
Right,
possibly.
To close, Shrek, if you ended up with AJ Green, Jay Ajayi, first round, second round, would you be happy with how it's going?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Very, very happy.
Nice.
So, guys, that's going to do it here on our second podcast of the year, talking some ADPs, bitching about some NFL news, some players. And we do want to let you know, coming at you this year on Let's Talk Fantasy Football, we're going to have the one and the only Ed joining us live. He's going to be coming in on the podcast. And I have a feeling he's going to be dropping a lot of fantasy knowledge like Walsh. And he's going to make me feel dumb at multiple points. But we're looking forward to having him here. He's going to give you guys a ton more value. And hopefully he'll be here with us moving forward. Vinny, do you have any final thoughts for everybody else?
No, that's it. Get mocking. I was like, what the hell was Matt's little catchphrase? Get mocking.
Get mocking, guys. And talk fantasy football. Peace out.
This has been Let's Talk Fantasy Football. Thanks for listening.